Rise and shine on Australia's Vision Christian Radio.
You're on Rise and Shine with Matt and Phil all across Australia. And joining us in the studio is Simon Hunter. He's got a lot of experience in the film industry, and he's actually filming a bit of a doco with the team here at Vision this week. So we thought we'd have a bit of a chat. Welcome along, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's get your mic on there. Here we go. So, mate, tell us a little bit about the documentary you're doing here at the moment.
Yeah, we're working on a bunch of projects with Vision, and really it's partly to expand the reach, really tell what you do and what you do really well. And that's our job here, is to just tell the truth. I don't think we have to embellish anything, because you guys do such an amazing job, but just letting people know through the visual medium what you're actually doing.
Fantastic.
Well, Simon, can you tell us a bit about yourself? What's your background?
Yeah, I started making movies when I was 10.
Oh, wow.
I never thought it would be a career. I grew up in the western suburbs of Sydney, and anyway, from doing that, I ended up working for a special effects company and in Australia, in Sydney, and then ended up writing a TV show that Brian Brown bought. Wow. Jeffrey Rush starred in it, and I thought, I'm going to get tons of work now.
Yes.
And nobody here hired me after it went to air, and so I packed up and I moved to LA, and I worked over in LA for a long time as a writer, and then came back, and I moved. Once we had kids, I kind of felt I needed a real job, not just a freelance writer. But I ran Bond University's film school. Okay. And we had some great successes with students coming out of there. One of them in particular went on to do Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, which he made the 10-minute version when he was at Bond, and then ended up doing the big Hollywood one with Jeremy Renner. Wow. And then I worked for New York Film Academy. They asked me, and I was the president of their international division. It was a great job. I lived in Abu Dhabi, and I used to set campuses up all over the world. Fantastic. And everywhere from Paris, London, a whole range of places. And then came back to Australia, and I set up 2 campuses for New York Film Academy, one based on the backlot at Village Roadshow Studios, one in Sydney. And then I moved to my current position, which is called the Executive Chairman of Waterloo Studios, which is a film studio in Sydney, in Waterloo. And we have Sydney Film School, Sydney Actors School, and one of our partners is Talent Development Project, which Keith Urban is the patron of. Oh,
fantastic.
And so I oversee all of that, and in the meantime I make documentaries and write movies and TV shows.
Oh, very cool, mate. And I know you're doing a lot of work with Carl Faze. He's a well-known pastor. He's done these, Beyond Belief, Towards Belief, the Game Changer series. You've been involved. You've travelled around the world with him doing that. What's that been like?
Great. I actually figured out I've spent a year of my life with Carl.
Okay.
Wow.
In all the travel we've done. But we did, the first series was called Towards Belief. I came onto that. I did a movie that I shot here in Toowoomba called The Custodian. And so that film came out. It was on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. And then Carl and I worked together, and we did Towards Belief, which was the 10 reasons why people won't go to church.
Wow.
And so we explored that, and that became a really good series and won awards and played all over the world. TBN played it in the States and in the UK. And then we did a new series called Jesus the Game Changer, which was, effectively how the teachings of Jesus affected contemporary society. And that was interesting, and I think that was about 13 episodes, half an hour each, and we shot everywhere and interviewed amazing people. And then we did a second season of that, and the last show that I did with Carl was called Towards Belief. Oh, sorry, not Towards Belief. The last one was called Faith Runs Deep.
Oh, yes.
And that was the history of Christianity in Australia.
Oh, wow.
I think on that one there was a Christian rodeo rider. Yeah. A bull rider who had an amazing testimony. I remember seeing Carl post a photo about that.
Yeah.
So he interviewed a bull rider. That guy was pretty cool, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was great. Yeah. And, the really cool thing about the show is Carl had a ute.
Oh, that's right.
And so he drove across Australia in the ute, we would visit all these people who had these amazing testimonies and find out, both on the academic side, the history of Christianity in Australia, but also the personal testimonies of the bull rider and swimmers, and it was amazing.
Yeah. What a great opportunity to tell people stories. Such a privilege.
Yeah, it is. And, it was, and for me, it's been great because I get to see all the interview, and people get to see the bits that we have to select, obviously, because we're editing. But just remarkable. And to Carl's credit, what they've done with his company, Olive Tree Media, is they've taken those extended interviews and they've released those for a lot of the shows as well.
Oh, amazing.
So you got to see all of the testimonies.
And just before we started recording, you were sharing that interviewing John Lennox in Oxford in the UK was probably one of your highlights.
Yeah,
what was he like?
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, just such a good sense of humour. And, you know, when you're doing these shows, you're running the whole time. And I love it. It's a blast. You set up and you literally have 20 minutes to figure out what the shot is. And I was running around and we must have been talking about apologists and, you know, those who actually debate them. And I ended up saying to John Lennox, okay, Mr. Dawkins, can you, he thought it was, I was calling him Richard Dawkins, the greatest kind of critic of Christianity in contemporary world. He thought it was hilarious. He thought it was so funny, but he was great. And I think there's a group of people like him. Ard Louis is another one we've interviewed who really have a perspective on science and that it's not mutually exclusive. It actually is a tool, if you like, to understand, you know, the presence of God in the world. And I find those conversations fascinating.
And we're catching up today with Simon Hunter, who's worked in Hollywood as a writer, director, producer, now based on the Gold Coast. Simon, we're just loving hearing what God's been doing in your life.
I love that you're able to bring your natural gift, God-given gift, and use it for the ministry. You're able to tell Christian stories and you're able to use that. And you've got so much experience that you're now able to use for God's kingdom. What's that like for someone out there? If we've got a kid listening, even my daughter would love to do what you're doing right now, and she's now 16. What would you say to them?
Look, I can't honestly say that I've ever planned it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many experiences, friendships, a whole range of things that have happened that are just miraculous. But I do think you have to have a passion for it, but I don't think passion's enough. The one thing I always promised myself was if I ever said yes to something, I would go the entire way. I would not back down. And that might mean sometimes, you know, we shot a movie, The Custodian. I think we shot that in 3 weeks up in Toowoomba, an entire feature film. And I probably slept 3 hours a night.
Wow.
And, you know, you just deliver. And you also get over perfectionism very quickly. I think a lot of people, I've trained a lot of students, and the biggest thing that stops them is perfectionism. They think it has to be, or I need this budget, or in the end, just go out and do it. And you'll learn so much and then see what happens. And I think from that, other doors open.
And if people want to search up The Custodian, is it available now?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's played on, it was on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. I think it's finished its run on there, but you can certainly get it on Amazon. You can buy it on DVD.
Very cool.
But it was a great experiment. We just wanted to do a movie that it's basically like a Twilight Zone, if you remember those old series. Yeah. But we didn't have a big budget, so we asked big questions. That's what I said, and I couldn't get away with that when I worked in Hollywood. Yeah. You'd have to tone it down.
Yeah, and you know the Christian films coming out lately are so much better quality than 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you look at what Sherwood Pictures is doing with all their movies recently, Jesus Revolution and the Irwin brothers. You know, are you watching that space and thinking, praise God, there's finally some good quality content coming out?
Look, you know, the way I've always treated, I'm kind of, how can I put this? A bit of a U2 Christian. Yeah. Like U2 just does really awesome music.
Yeah, good.
But if you listen to their lyrics, it's very Christian.
Yeah.
But they don't define themselves as a Christian band. And I think you'll probably find a lot of those filmmakers want to tell great stories, but their value system is very much about, you know, this is my faith and this is what's important to me. As much as other people in Hollywood make films about things that they consider their values, not always my values, but that's it. And I think more and more. But when you're doing like The Chosen or something like that, it's certainly obvious that they're making that for an audience. Yeah. And you hope that the greatest thing I've ever seen happen is we did with Jesus the Game Changer. 2 women came to a home group that we had a study, and they came because they saw Jesus the Game Changer. And I never take that as because of me. I would never say that. It was just that I'm grateful that I was involved. Yeah, great. In that process, because those women were going through some really hard times, and this had some answers for them.
Fantastic. Well, we do encourage people to search up any of those great series, Jesus the Game Changer, Toward Belief, from Carl Fays. They can search up and connect with those, and a lot of them are online these days too.
If you just go to Olive Tree Media, Carl's got them all on his website. Fantastic.
Well, it's been so good to catch up with you, mate, and we're so grateful to have you here at Vision doing some documentaries, and we are just so excited that Lord's raising up people in all these spheres around the world. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.